They asked me how I knew my true love was true.
Greetings. Today is April the 2nd, 2020. In world news, Russian officials approve up to 7 years prison sentences for coronavirus quarantine violators. The death toll in Spain has now surpassed 10,000. Australia's Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation confirms that they will begin comprehensive clinical trials of COVID-19 vaccines to be used on animal models. There are now more than 51,000 deaths and over 1 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the globe. Also, there are more than 2,008 cases of COVID-19 recoveries worldwide. In U.S. news, 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment last week. Over 10 million jobs have vanished in the last 2 weeks. The U.S. Navy relieves USS Theodore Roosevelt's captain, Brett Crozier, of his command after a letter outlining a coronavirus outbreak aboard the aircraft carrier was leaked to the press.
All laughing friends deride, tears I cannot hide. So I smile and say, when a lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes.
Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another installment of Ruben Rosales' podcast. In Wall Street, the Dow Jones is up 2.24%. The Nasdaq is up 1.72%. The S&P 500 is up 2.28%. The Russell 2000 index is up 1.29%. And the NYSE Arca Oil Index is up 9.09%. So as you know, there are a lot of prominent figures that are infected with the COVID-19 virus. Just to name a few: Prince Charles, Senator Rand Paul, Colton Underwood, Andy Cohen, Placido Domingo, Jackson Brown, Rachel Matthews, Laurel Bell Bundy, and many, many more. So stay safe out there. I do want to get into a few things. I know that the CDC, or Dr. Anthony Fauci, is projecting that we're probably going to have to use masks everywhere pretty soon. But, I've seen some crazy stuff out there already, okay? I mean, people wearing all kinds of stuff, making masks out of everything or anything they can get their hands on. But do we really have to wear a snorkeling mask out there? Is that, do we really need that? I mean, nothing more that you need to show up at a cash register somewhere to make a payment. All you hear is like, somebody wearing all these inappropriate masks. We don't need all that stuff. I mean, I know everybody loves Halloween, but come on. Now, I can remember when I was in the military and we had to use what is known as MOPP Protective Gear. MOPP is an acronym for Mission Oriented Protective Posture. Now we have to wear this. We have to wear these suits, and we have to do some training exercises. And it covers your whole body. And you had this mask, and you had your water bottle that would attach to a straw of some sort that would go right to your mask, so you would be able to drink this while you had the mask on. We do these exercises for a long time, and what you don't want to do when you're doing these exercises is not go to the restroom before you do this. Okay, because you're going to be out there for a long time. And I'm hoping we don't go to this, I hope we don't, that doesn't happen, but because the last thing you need, you're sweating in there and you're going crazy. And, after about the third or fourth hour, you just can't, your voice even goes up a few pitches. And all you need is some guy talking to you and looking like an old man going through puberty. Hey, kids, would you like a lollipop? Anyway, all we need to do is our part to get through this, okay? It might take a while, but we'll eventually get through it. We have a very important caller with us today, a military veteran, an airline pilot, Mr. Eric Lane McCorkle. So stay with us.
I'm here.
Okay, yes. Yes, just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and what your current job is.
Well, Ruben, born and raised in Alabama, live out here in the Dallas, Texas area. I've been out here about 14 years. I am employed as an airline pilot for a major airline here in the U.S. Been out here, I came here from South Mississippi about 14 years ago. Like I said, I was flying a corporate airplane for a small real estate company there. Hurricane Katrina happened, I believe that was back in 2005, August 2005. And I came out here to the Dallas area, been here ever since, been employed as a pilot, a professional pilot, since that time, and have been with the airlines for the last, about 3 years now.
You've been in the military prior to being an airline pilot, correct? So can you tell us a little bit about your military history?
Well, a lot of people assume that because I was in the military, the Air Force was the branch of service I was in, that I was a pilot when I was in the military. I actually was not a pilot in the military. I did all that once I was discharged from the service, honorably discharged back in 1996. I went in about a year out of high school. Like I said, I grew up in a fairly small town in Alabama, and just wanted to do something with my life and get away from the little town I was in. So the military was that opportunity for me. Joined the service in the early 90s during Desert Storm and was active duty Charleston Air Force Base for the years that I was serving in the Air Force. One of the best things that I ever did, very proud veteran, was happy to serve my country, and it's provided a lot of opportunities and opened a lot of doors for me over the years. So it got me away from the small town that I was in Alabama, and also gave me some opportunities to see some different things at a young age.
Right. Can we talk about your job title in the Air Force, or because I served about the same time as you did, and I was in communications, and I was at the Fairchild Air Force Base. So I signed up around the Desert Storm. So we're pretty close to the same age. I believe we enlisted around the same time, and I was just wondering what type of work you did, if you can actually talk about it. I know some people can't. So.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say the job that I did was necessarily top secret or anything like that, so I can certainly talk about it. I was in supply. I was in 437 Supply Squadron there at Charleston Air Force Base during that time, and pretty much my job consisted of fueling the airplanes, servicing the airplanes with liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen. I was mostly on a fuel farm there on the base where they stored all the fuel and the cryogenics for use on the airplanes. So usually my day or night, depending when I was working, consisted of driving fuel trucks out on the flight line for refueling, or hauling liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen out for the crew chiefs and the crew members of the whatever aircraft I was going to service that airplane. So I spent a lot of time out on the flight line there.
Okay, perfect. Listen, I can see where your love or your drive for becoming a pilot began. At least it did for me also. But after you left the military is when you went to school to become a pilot, and you said you worked for a corporate office. Now you work for a major airline. as you fly, where areas do you usually fly to? Is it all in the United States? Do you fly across the world, and if you specify some of the different airports and just some of the challenges that you go through? Because I know some of them are difficult areas to land in. So if you could just kind of explain to the listeners about that.
The airline that I work for mostly flies in the U.S. Most of the stuff that we do is domestic. We do go down to Mexico. We don't really do any flying in Canada, although when I was doing corporate aviation, I was in Canada quite often, at least 2 or 3 times a month. We go out to the Caribbean and Central America. We do some of that type of stuff. Now, we do not fly to Asia, Europe, the Middle East. We don't really do any of those types of routes, or I don't fly any of those routes. I have been to every major city in this country numerous times. I have been to every state except for Alaska and Hawaii. But other than that, I have seen so much over the years. Having a job like this allows you to do things like that. With what's going on right now with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, obviously things have took a drastic turn with air travel. We're seeing a drastic drop in the number of passengers that are flying right now. It almost seems like a catch-22 to me. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I was flying and I went through Louisville, Kentucky, and on my way Dallas. Last couple of days I was in Milwaukee. I went through St. Louis, and it seems to be the same thing everywhere I go. I get to the airport, and it's the airports, they're ghost towns, right, which is very shocking. And it almost literally seemed to happen overnight. There would be mornings I would show up before this COVID-19 thing started happening, where you literally there would be, it seemed like, thousands of people in the airport, whether it be, an airport here in Dallas or Los Angeles or Miami, a lot of the bigger hubs in the country, Atlanta. And literally now I walk in, and I'm not exaggerating, I might see 30 people in the entire airport. And we are seeing passenger loads with our flights, literally 5 to 10 people sometimes. It's very surreal. I feel like I'm actually in a movie. I cannot really believe that this is happening. Understand why, people are doing what they're doing. And when I say, it was almost like a catch-22 thing to me, it felt like, people are obviously doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, you see a lot of the social distancing. You see things, that people are doing that they're being, told to do to try to curb the spread of this COVID-19 thing, but it's killing so many industries right now. But I understand and I get it. It needs to be done. I don't know if I kind of got off track with your question there. I'm just
no. You're doing that. That's exactly what I wanted to cover. I mean, how is this? Do you guys have enough personal protection equipment? Do you guys? Is there a specific protocol that you guys have to follow now that this COVID-19 is coming into effect, or what is the FAA saying about all this stuff?
Well, it's we're getting a lot of guidance from the company. We see emails almost on a daily basis of updates of what's happening, suggested things that we can do to protect ourselves. There are also things that the companies, I say companies because I have friends and acquaintances that work at other airlines and things like that, and we're pretty much all doing the same thing. We're listening to what the leaders are suggesting that we do, the doctors and things like that, just like everybody else is doing. So, I carry a bottle of hand sanitizer with me. I also carry sanitizer wipes with me. So I'm very aware of, making sure my hands are clean, using these things, the touching of the face that everybody's talking about. I'm pretty cognizant of, that and trying not to do that as much, and if I do touch my face or something like that, I always make sure that I have just used the hand sanitizer or washed my hands very thoroughly before I, do something like that. the companies are also making sure, that the aircraft are clean, and I'm seeing cleaning crews in the airports that are going through and they're wiping down seats and, tabletops and doing things like that. So, it's very, very difficult with something like this because you obviously can't see it and it's microscopic. And I heard someone on the news the other day talking about that. I think it was a general or something like that, military general, and they were basically saying, this is a unprecedented thing because we're fighting an enemy that we cannot see. It's invisible. And, I know just as well as you, Ruben, I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime, and I hope I never see it again. But I think, at least from what I'm seeing, that most of the people out there are really trying and really doing, what they're supposed to be doing to try to minimize this thing as best they can. I mean, obviously not everybody's doing that, and that's frustrating, but most of the people that I come in contact with anyway are doing these things. So I feel safe out there. I know my wife worries sometimes when I go out because obviously I'm going to be a little more at risk than someone who's just staying in their home, such as her. And if I bring that back, it doesn't really matter, if she stays in the house 24/7 or not. If I bring it into the house now, I'm exposing not only her, but, my child and other family members to that. So I am very, very, very aware of that. I have talked with some of my supervisors at the company I work for, and they have reassured me that, that they would never put anybody in harm's way, and I believe them, and I feel like I'm doing what I need to do to be as safe as I can. So.
Yes, that's actually excellent. I mean, that's stuff that we are facing with, and we all have fears of, especially those of us that need to go out, that are not in the house, to bring something like that back. It would just be disastrous. How about the rest of your family? How are they doing? The extended family and so forth. Are they? Is everybody okay? Has anybody been infected with a disease by any chance? Or I hope everybody's okay.
Yeah, well, for me, nobody that I know, whether it be a family member, a friend, acquaintance, a coworker, somebody like that, nobody that I personally am connected with has been affected by this as far as being infected with the disease. Financially, yes, loss of jobs and things like that. My wife is a stay-at-home mom at the moment, so we have a 20-month-old in the house, so she pretty much stays at home and takes care of the baby. And if I'm not here, obviously it's just her and the baby. But everybody seems to be doing fine. I think most of the people that I know, especially my family members, are very aware of the situation and how serious it is, and they're doing all of these things, the social distancing, washing their hands, trying not to touch their face and doing things like that. And usually if there's something like, if obviously, we need to eat. So if I have to go out in public or go to the grocery store, it's usually just me doing that instead of multiple, family members getting out and about and running around and doing things like that. So everybody seems to be doing great, and like I said, and I think a part of that is that they're heeding and, they're listening to the things that they're being instructed to do to try to minimize, the possibility of getting infected, with this thing. So
that is great. That is correct. I mean, we just have to remember to stay patient and just stay the course, and eventually we'll get through this. It's not the first time that I know in our lifetime it's never happened. This is the first time it happens in our lifetime, but in yours and mine specifically. But I mean, it's happened before in the world, and we just have to remember just to follow and stay diligent and be alert and just do what is asked of us, and we will definitely get through this. But I just wanted to move forward. Like, what is next for Eric Lane McCorkle? What do you have in the near future? What are your thoughts? And you plan to continue flying for the rest of your life, or until retirement comes?
Well, yeah, that's the plan. And just like that statement that you just said, this is not the first time that something like this has happened, and I know that it will pass. Thank goodness that we have the technology that we have today with social media and cable television and things like that, where the word can get out much more quickly than what it used to. I actually was thinking about that the other day. Back in the 1800s, 1900s, when I don't know exact dates. I don't have this stuff in front of me.
Right.
During the Spanish flu and things like that, the Black Plague, and they just didn't have a way to communicate. They didn't have the technology either with medicine or like what we're doing now. You're on one side of the country and I'm in the middle part of the country, and we're talking to each other. It's instantaneous. Things are instantaneous now. Information travels much more quickly than it did then, and I think that's saving lives as well. Because I'm sure back then they probably didn't know what was going on, and if they did know what was going on, they you can't get the word out as quickly as you can now. But I'm trying to think of it in that way. Like you said, it's happened before, and it will pass. We're doing everything we can do as a whole, as a country, the world actually, because obviously the whole world's dealing with this, to try to get through this thing as best we can. I'm really just looking to get back to normalcy. My life was going well. You get to a certain point, in your life where you feel like, you've accomplished the things you want to accomplish, and you just keep moving forward in this career field that I'm in. And hopefully one day, I'll retire healthy and I can live out the rest of my life, spending time with my family, my grandkids, and things like that. So really, honestly, Ruben, man, I feel like I've done so much in my life, and I'm just looking forward to, better days ahead, just like everybody else. But I just want to get back to some normalcy, get back to my job, and start seeing people out in the streets, playing in the parks, in the stores, showing up to the airport, getting on the airplanes, traveling, vacations with their family. Everybody's happy and having a great time instead of just being paranoid, about everything, which seems to be, what's happening right now. Just a lot of paranoid, afraid people out there, which is understandable.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and we should just keep our eyes on that goal, and it will happen. This will pass, and we just got to keep our eyes and move forward.
Right.
I just want to thank you, brother, for taking the time to do this interview. Again, we are speaking with Eric Lane McCorkle. He's a pilot and a former service member of the Air Force. And I want to thank you for the work that you do. And I'll keep your family in my prayers. And I wish everyone the very best, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ruben. Listen, same to you, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This concludes our podcast. Have a great day.